Joining me now to discuss all this in the group chat, Isaac Dover, CNN senior reporter, Sabrina Rodriguez, national political reporter for The Washington Post, and Kevin Frey, Washington correspondent for Spectrum News, New York 1. So, Isaac, I want to start with you because, as you've pointed out, Netanyahu has been one of the most consequential leaders for this country. But what's consequential about this moment, do you think?
Well, he's the longest-serving Israeli leader. He's also, I think, had maybe the biggest impact of anybody on the U.S.-Israel relationship as one person.
Meaning with each president.
With each president over time, and really contributed to what is now a sort of partisan support for Israel. It's much more of a Republican issue than it was a nonpartisan issue before. This visit comes, as you point out, third time just since Trump has been in office, Netanyahu has been here. He has gotten himself as close as he can to Trump. In part because Trump is the most popular figure in Israel. And Trump wants to get to some level of a solution, of an end to the conflict that has been there since October 7th. And so far, through Joe Biden and through Donald Trump, Netanyahu has been doing his own thing, including when he went and did the strikes on Iran.
Yes. You were pointing out, Kevin, though, that as a result of what happened in Iran, Trump is entering this meeting with some confidence.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's riding high off of what ultimately, after kind of his own reservations that he expressed publicly about Netanyahu even taking these sorts of attacks on Iran. Then he gets involved, and then they settle this in some sort of brokered ceasefire, at least for the time being. We'll see if that holds. And so now he is hoping that now this sort of verve that he got with Iran can be transferred to the Israel-Hamas situation, which he, of course, has kind of made one of his raison d'etres upon entering office, that I'm going to be able to fix this, much like I'm able to fix things around the world, that I'm this great peacekeeper and ceasefire expert. We'll see if that translates, though.
Go ahead.
I think there's a lot of momentum here, and that's part of it. It's like you can do both at the same time, celebrate and try and tout, the Iran strike and them feeling like there was a success, and also try and build on that momentum. But I think for Trump, there's an added layer here where, he campaigned so much and he was going to get all these deals done. He was going to end the war in Russia and Ukraine. He was going to, deal with Gaza and sort of get that ceasefire done. And we're months into the administration. That hasn't come to fruition. So, a lot of people on the campaign trail I would hear talk about, Trump the deal maker. And I think for him, it's important to actually solidify that and show, yeah, I can get things done on, the foreign level.
Right, and of course we're reaching the point where there's going to be the end of that 90-day pause on the tariffs that were supposed to be set. So I think a lot of us are going to be watching to see what deals actually get made, what's the tally there. You guys stay with me. Okay, I want to talk about this not because we are assigning blame to any government agency, but one of the first stories I ever covered was Hurricane Katrina. And there were questions that needed to be asked about FEMA, about the Army Corps of Engineers, and I think that's what's driving this now a little bit of saying, hey, where was the government in all of this? Isaac, how do you experience this?
Yeah, I think it's not just where was the government in all the lead up to it, but where's the government going to be in the cleanup of it? And the president is pointing to what we were just hearing, some ambiguity, at least, in whether there is a direct line from the cuts to what happened. But what there is not really ambiguity about is that this administration has been cutting back on FEMA and on disaster relief. That is true across the country. It was true in Arkansas, even with his former press secretary as the governor a couple months ago. And now I think there are real questions to be asked about what kind of funding there's going to be, what kind of sustained response there will be from the federal government given all of these cuts.
Yes.
I was going to say, to go off of that point, I mean, I think back to the beginning of hurricane season, which we are now entering kind of the thrust of that. Craig Fugate, who was the FEMA director under, I believe, Obama, warned at the beginning of hurricane season that because of the basically brain drain we've seen at FEMA, he is concerned that we are back to 2005 type levels, especially when it comes to just the ability to interact with local officials and local individuals on the ground, because that experience is just not there.
Yeah, because there's a couple elements we're talking about here. There's forecasting and the Weather Service. There have been cuts there. Then there's the alert system. And then, as you said, there's rescue and recovery. Trump was actually asked about his pledges to eliminate or overhaul FEMA. I want you to take a listen.
President, are you still planning to FEMA is something we can talk about later, but right now they're busy working, so we'll leave it at that.
I mean, I think listening to President Trump say that is certainly a shift for him, because we have heard him repeatedly this year talk about how he wants to get rid of FEMA, about how he wants it to be local and state officials that are in charge of this. But I think here you sort of see a recognition that, okay, wait, there's going to have to be a response to what just happened, and let's not get ahead of ourselves here. This is something where the federal government is going to have to step in. But I think, to Kevin's point here, I mean, as the season goes on, you know, hurricane season, I'm the Floridian on this panel, so very sensitive to anything related to disaster relief. I think there is a recognition that something is going to have to be done, that this is not something you can do overnight. Of course, President Trump makes shifts very quickly, so I think it'll be interesting to see in the weeks to come.
It does sort of take me back. I was thinking this morning about, if you remember when that train derailment happened in East Palestine under Biden, and Trump himself made a big deal out of Biden didn't go, Pete Buttigieg didn't go, he went. So it's a thing always to go and visit the site, and it seems like we'll go later this week. But what happened in East Palestine is that, yes, Biden never went, and Buttigieg went after Trump did. But over the course of a year and a half, 2 years of response and cleanup, they actually did fix that situation and take care of what happened there because of what the federal government was doing, working with local authorities. And that's more than what happens with the photo op visit that all the presidents always make to these sorts of things. That's the real question here, what this looks like.
Yeah, and also I think it's going to be interesting. It's all fun and games when you're talking in the abstract about what could happen or issue warnings. It's very different when you are faced with those things in the moment. And that's where your politics are put to the test.
Well, I was going to just to build off of what she was just touching on. Like, I worked in Louisiana at the beginning of my career, and so people there are both frustrated and understand the necessity of FEMA. They have plenty of complaints about how recovery works, the hurdles that exist. But at the same time, there are still open questions, which Trump was batting around right there, as to, okay, but what fills the void? And is the sledgehammer that Democrats have been warning about, is that going to have the ripple effects?
Okay, you guys, I want you to stick around. Thank you for this discussion. I want to turn to the last topic of today, which is somewhat related, frankly, which is Elon Musk and his politics. The man behind Doge now has a new mission for himself, and that is to create a third party somehow. It's going to be called the America Party, and the spark is him being upset, allegedly, about the big, beautiful bill. I have to be honest, I can't think of a person who is like more unpopular in a lot of ways. I'm being very generous here, politically. But Isaac, who...
Look, the last successful third party was the Republican Party. It started in 1856. It got a presidential candidate elected in 1860. It is a hard thing to do. That said, Musk has a lot of money, and you are right about his political unpopularity, but many
and by
people...
that, I mean Democrats are
for sure
very much not interested,
yes.
And now perhaps he's rocked the boat with his Trump
I don't think
support.
perhaps. Definitely. That said, many people doubted that he would actually follow through with the spending that he promised he would do for Trump, and he did. Many people doubted that he would be a really effective force in Doge cuts, and he was. So let's see what happens here.
Guys.
Yeah, I mean, hearing him speak about why he's doing this, I mean, he talks about, that there's the political middle doesn't have a party, and that is a fact. I mean, going out and talking to folks, increasingly people don't identify with either party. They look at both parties as out of touch, not actually helping Americans. Poll after poll shows that. Going out and talking to people, you hear it. So he certainly is identifying that, but again, with his unpopularity, with how difficult it is to establish that party, I think it's going to be certainly an uphill.
And you don't have to win. You can certainly alter the future of an election.
I was going to say, you can play the spoiler in some sense, perhaps, and especially if you're willing to throw millions and millions, billions of dollars into these sorts of things, and he certainly has no shortage of that. My question is, what is the constituency here? Because, as you mentioned, Democrats aren't in favor, and Republicans are sticking with Trump. They seemingly aren't being swayed by him. Is this a fiscally conservative, socially moderate party? Like, what is the image here?
And as people think about what his political legacy is, there's going to be a lot of questions.